Hey gang, Ron here. Welcome on back to the Cade and another episode of Suckerpunch Sunday, the series where we take a deep dive into a classic fighting or fighting platform-based game from the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th generation. And for this week, we're going to go back to 1993. And we're going to play a game that was ahead of its time in a lot of ways, and I can make the argument, draw a line from this game, which came out again 32 years ago now, to what From Software came up with about 20 years ago now, about 10 years ago now, with the original Dark Souls trilogy. So, if you're not familiar with this game, it follows, as you'll read in this prologue, the story of a swordsman who gets so full of himself that he believes he can challenge Death Incarnate to a duel, and if he wins and defeats Death, he gets to become immortal. If he loses, he becomes Death's servant. Now, according to the legend and lore in this game, the battle rages for days, but ultimately the swordsman fells Death and gains his immortality. But with all such things, you have to read the fine print. And the fine print stated that Death, instead of giving him immortal life, cursed the swordsman to go and defeat all supernatural evil in existence, and only then will he break the curse that he's been given for beating him in the duel. So, we are going to play Chakan the Forever Man. Now, this game came out in North America in January of 1993, came out in Europe in February of 1993. It was created by John Miller and Mark Miller by Extended Play, and it's actually based on a comic book of the same name written by Robert A. Krause. And it was produced by a guy named Ed Annunziata, it's a non-easy name, who was impressed enough by what Krause had created. And it was pretty much done in a response to all the family-friendly, hyper-colorful fare that was available in the 16-bit generation at the time. So mainly games like franchises like Mario, or Sonic, or Legend of Zelda. Now, there's nothing wrong with any of those franchises. Don't misinterpret what I'm saying here. Those are great games. They're some of the most unimpeachable IP ever created in the video game genre. But that doesn't mean there wasn't people who were interested in slightly darker, more adult, more macabre fare. And this game supplied that. And it came out both on the MegaDrive and the Genesis, and then was later issued on the Game Gear, which was Sega's answer to the Game Boy. It was a full-color handheld console. And what this game, how it works is you see this central hub. So it follows 4 planes of existence where we have to be able to work between the 4 elements of earth, air, fire, and water. And each of the 3 levels has a total of 4 levels in them. So you play 12 total. So it is a question of which way you want to go first. And I think we are just going to start going this way and see where we start. Now, similar to Dark Souls, this game does not have a set player count, which was very common in games of the era. Chakan is immortal, so he can die and come back as many times as you want to be able to play in this game. Now, one of the things about Chakan the Forever Man that is evident really quick is that this is not an easy game. Because you are immortal and because you are able to live forever, the thing you have to pay attention to is that hourglass down in the bottom corner. Now I'm going to pause it. Whoops. I can't. But that hourglass is key because as that sand runs down, we run out of time to be able to finish this level. So there's a certain amount of time that we have to finish each level. As we plummet into the flames. So every time we die, we come back here. Unfortunately, we don't have to go through the little storytelling prologue again. But your B button, since we're playing on a Genesis controller, your B button is attack. Your C button is jump, and then you have your A button allows you to do special moves or drink potions if you have them, or operate special weaponry. Now you can die, as you see up in the upper right-hand corner. You can see all those skulls up there. Now, if you do this double tap with the C button, you do the flip spin, and that allows you to get a little bit higher. Ah! I was trying to jump on that platform. Alright, so instead of going this way, let's go this way and see what else we can find out. So what do we have in here? Her hive is growing, burrowing deeper and deeper into the earth. And as her children are born, her evil powers grow stronger. No force can keep her from reaching her lair. Can keep me from reaching her lair. Spider Queen. Oh, I picked the wrong door. As soon as I started reading this, I went, oh, this can't go well. If there is one thing in video games I do not like to deal with, it is anything with 8 legs on it. Can I take this thing out? No, I can't. So we have to deal with all these little spiders down here. I like the fact that Chakan has twin swords, but I will tell you now, the mechanics of this game are a little difficult only because you can't poke straight down with your swords. You have to angle them down so you can do more damage. Watch out, they spit. Ow. I'm almost dead already. And like most games of the era, there is no map. Alright, well, I have no interest whatsoever in dealing with spiders. Thank you very much. Now, when this game was released in 1993, the publications at the time, All Game gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. Sega Pro gave it 76 out of 100, and Mega Action gave it an 88%. And the game is known for its unusually high difficulty level at the time of its release, which, again, plays into the idea of it being not too dissimilar from what Dark Souls ultimately became. When Sega Pro gave their review, again 76 out of 100, they praised the game's graphics as well animated sprites, and the backgrounds are detailed and atmospheric. The game's music is deep, booming, and atmospheric. And concluded that it could have been a classic game based on a novel scenario, but it's let down by its complete lack of action. And that is something that I do find in this game, in that there is not a lot to do between encounters with enemies that are pretty spread out. But like most platformers at the time, provided I can get him up on this rock. Come on. Really? You're not going to let me get up there? In a lot of ways, this game reminds me of the original Castlevania, in that it's a lot harder to be able to move around and get stuff done from level to level than you would think. And that, very much like the floating Medusa heads in Castlevania, there is stuff that will just come out of the woodwork and get you. And it can be really frustrating. Now, I find it amusing that being basically an undead man, that he can manage to brave the current. Ow! And I'm almost dead again. Now, this start screen should allow you to be able to go and pick up stuff or utilize different things, but I haven't really unlocked anything yet. So I have 2 potions, but I can't do anything with them. Can't unlock anything there, so there's nothing, there's no secret walls or anything that I need to be able to take out. And I got killed by something in the water. Alright, let's go this way and see what else is here. We haven't gone this way yet. The Dragonfly King has lived for millions of years and hails from a prehistoric time when life on Earth was ruled by its kind. Now it's trying to regain the Earth as its kingdom. Enjoy your time, Dragonfly King, for this is your last day. Now, apparently there was going to be a sequel planned and developed, but it never came to fruition. And if you could manage to get through each level, If you get through the first level, then the second one will be different, and the third one will be different. So the whole idea is that you cancel everything out. Ah! But his jumping is so limited. It's like the idea that I can go and jump from one spot to the other, from here to here. What? He says as he falls right into the pit. But if there is one benefit to not having a general life counter, is that if you screw up like this, like I am doing, not with the intention of it, you can go back and keep trying. There we go. Now, trying to pull that double tap jump can be rather annoying. So I'm right back where I started. Ah! There we go. Get me up there. How many times do I have to be able to try and take this guy down? Or can I not kill him? If I can't kill him, that's a problem. Yeah, I hit him I don't know how many times. But I couldn't... He wouldn't die. That's not helpful at all. Ah! And now we're back to this. Back to this wonderful ability to just accelerate my own demise. Really? So that double jump will either bail you out or it will guarantee that you die. And this, in a lot of ways, speaks to the difficulty spike in this game. Because I should be able to make that jump. But that I can't makes it even more awkward. And that was the thing that ticked a lot of platform players off back in the day, was that the degree of difficulty was so steep that if you slipped up even a little bit, you paid for it. Oh boy, did you pay for it. Like so. Because then you're free floating down to the bottom, and if you don't know what's underneath you, then forget about it. So most of the time you're going to be spending it trying to carve out a path that'll work. That didn't work, so I've got to go up and around and jump down to go that way. I can't just go straight across because I don't have the reach to be able to jump it. The double jump won't let me get there. Well, that time it didn't. Oh! And then that dweeb hit me and I fell right into the whatever it is down below, the ether. And I whiffed again. Alright. So I gotta pick an area here and really give it a go, because we're at about 20 minutes. And I was hoping I could at least get by one level. You would think there'd be one level in this game that I could beat. So where am I now? I'm at the edge here. Oh, I'm back here. Okay. Alright, let's go back to where we started. See, like these guys I could take out. Go up the lift. And get over here. Whoop. Watch out for the bats and the flaming faces in the wall. Ow. Of course, the bats can work their way through anything, while I can't. We got a rogue guy here. Take the bats out. We're actually getting somewhere for once, which is nice. Take all them out. Duck the fire. We have a door. We go through the door. Don't you breathe on me. We can't go through that door. Well, what's the point of putting a door there if we can't go through it? So that comes up this way. More chirping bats. Definitely get annoying after about 30 seconds. I'm about to get cooked. Really? You sent a bat down the belfry. Ah. Now that sucked. Alright, well, we might as well call it here, but that, in a nutshell, is Chakan the Forever Man from 1993. And that is Suckerpunch Sunday for this week. Now, our obvious question, is this a good game? I'm sure it can be a good game, but don't let my ignorance and my inability to really get very far in these initial levels fool you. It's a game that obviously is going to require a lot of practice. It's going to require a lot of failure. And again, keeping in my parallel between this and Dark Souls, if you look at it as a far more primitive possibility for what Dark Souls became when From Software created it, then it follows a similar pattern. You've got to get good. But unlike what you're able to do in Dark Souls, where you have a better understanding of how everything is intertwined and interconnected, my suspicion is the further you go in this game, one, the harder it's going to get, and two, because there's no map system, there's no indications of which way is the right way, which, again, is not the fault of this game. It was very, very common. I would, for example, throw you back to when we played Earthworm Jim for the Sega Mega Drive a couple episodes back. That game was nearly impossible for me to figure out because there was no way to know which was the right way to be going. You've got to be able to explore it and stay alive long enough to figure out what way is the right way. Again, one of the benefit of the mechanics of this game is that when, more than if, you inevitably screw up, it's not immediately game over. You don't lose all your progress. You don't have to load a password. You don't have to load a save file. You just simply start back at the beginning where you left off. So if you think about it in Dark Souls speak, you start at the bonfire, or you start back at Firelink Shrine, which in this case, you could think of this hub as Chakan's Firelink. Is this a game they could make today? Again, in a lot of ways, they have. It's called Dark Souls. Even though this has no affiliation with that franchise or that IP or that company whatsoever, this seems very much ahead of its time in that there are elements to it that could easily translate to a modern game today. Now, if you were to do it today, I would think that you would probably be well served to put in a map system, which would not be super hard, I don't think. I mean, even something rudimentary like you'd see in Castlevania Symphony of the Night, just so you have an idea of where you're going. And also, give Chakan a little bit more to do and make the mechanics a little bit bigger. Because of the way that he moves, as you saw, my ability to jump and make jumps and have a consistent flow of travel from level to level is really, really stunted. Same applies to his fighting ability. For being the universe's greatest swordsman, the person who felled Death Incarnate, he gets hit a lot because the way his combat mechanics are, just using the B button, unless you're able to consistently point it in the right direction, up, down, left, or right, diagonals are a little bit harder to play with, even though the Genesis controller at the time afforded you that ability. It was still using a D-pad, not a joystick. I'm using an Xbox One controller, so it's a little bit easier, but still clunky. So I would say give it more variation of enemies and level design. Update the mechanics. Make the inventory system a lot better, because, I mean, I picked up what I assume are potions or elixirs or bottles of something, but couldn't use them. Could not discern how the start menu inventory worked or how to access it. And you clean up all those things and you may have yourself a contender. So that, if you've never tried this game, again, you can play it on the Fusion 3.64 emulator, which is a free emulator. It's not hard to find online, or if you have a Genesis nearby, you can find it on eBay for a decent price. It's not super expensive. But if this is a game you played back 30 years ago, what was your experience with it? If you were ever able to beat this game, I want to hear from you. And what did it take you to beat it? How long did it take you to beat it? And how many controllers did you go through to beat it? I'd be really curious about that, because I don't know anybody who's ever beat it. And in all the times I played it back in the 90s, I still don't even think I got through one full level of it before I was just kind of like, I'll go play something else. So while you're looking for something that's a little darker, a little more macabre, a little more horror style, and a little bit more grown up, remember that with that, is just like the story of the swordsman versus Death Incarnate, you got to read the fine print and realize it's not going to be as much fun necessarily as you think. So that is Chakan the Forever Man. That is Suckerpunch Sunday for this week. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you've been enjoying the content on the channel, you know how to show up by now. Also, be sure to tune in to Sports Saturday as we are carrying on with our great what-if scenario of building the New England Patriots dynasty without the existence of one Tom Brady. We actually did really well last week in avenging our one loss of the season to the Indianapolis Colts. That went down a lot better than I thought it would. Of course, it does help that everybody got a big case of fumbleitis. So Be sure to also check out our ongoing playthrough of Super Robot Wars Alpha Gaiden for the Sony PlayStation. Oh, I kept wanting to say Sega PlayStation. From 2001. We are 30 plus episodes into that series. We've only got about 10 to go at the time of this recording, and we post new ones every Monday and Wednesday. And we've already got our next playthrough picked out. It is coming with a viewer request that we play it. I'm not going to give anything away on it yet, but we will give you more news as events warrant on that front. Between that and finishing Super Robot Wars, we are also going to be bringing back a couple of our one-day playthroughs and WTF Wednesday. We've let those lapse just because of how long the playthroughs go, so we want to get a couple of them in as well. Be sure to follow us on social media through Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at Ronan's Retrocade. Help spread the word about us as we continue to make this channel bigger and better. Thank you very much for your patronage, your subscriptions, your comments, everything. It does a world of good, and we enjoy it every day. We get to put this all together for you. In the meantime, my name is Ronan. It's been great to spend this Suckerpunch Sunday with you. Be safe, be well, happy gaming, and we'll talk to you tomorrow as we dive headlong back into Super Robot Wars Alpha Gaiden. Bye!